Welcome into Jets Nation Radio, sponsored by Betway. Make sure you like and subscribe to Jets Nation Radio so you never miss a podcast. Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. I'm Angus Hout, and as always, be sure to check out the latest NHL odds with online sports book Betway. I mean, you can use future odds here because, if you want to bet on the Jets to win the Stanley Cup, I don't know if you could find a bet for the next 7 years, but at this point, the future's looking bright for our boys in blue. Hey there, Ray.
Yeah, it's looking real good. Pretty good forwards and a goalie that looks pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I guess you brought up the lack of defensemen. Do you think this is going to hinder the Jets in a few years where it's just like, no, we don't need defensemen? Or, there's 4 picks for the Jets?
Yeah, there was 5 picks, and I don't think it's a hindrance. Like, we have a lot of young defensemen on the team, and there's always players that you can sign. Like, they signed Sautner, who is in the AHL. Like, there's never going to be like a big impact from not picking defensemen in this draft. I think it's just an indicator that the forwards in this draft are just so much more highly coveted than the defensemen were.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it? The first 5 picks were all forwards last night?
No, the first 4.
First 4, my bad. So, well, let's go over our first round pick there. From Howe and Sound, the youngest captain, a guy that could grow a beard from the age of 7. I think the Jets just straight up drafted a full-grown man and are lying about his age. But we got Barlow from Howe and Sound in the OHL. What do you think about this pick?
Yeah, like, I didn't think he was going to be available at that pick. Like, he was very rumored to be like inching in on that top 10, like around probably like 9 to 13 range. And to be able to get a guy that is like, he's like almost like a complete package besides maybe his like playmaking ability and skating, but everything else about his game is just amazing. Like, he has a physical presence. He's a two-way player. He scored 46 goals in 59 games. Like, you don't do that when you're not a really good player. And he was able to score from multiple areas. I saw highlights where he was doing some 1-Ts looking like Kyle Connor. And then you see another one where he's driving the net using his body and getting like an in between his legs goal. Like, this type of guy is like, you don't find these guys just around. Like, these type of players you need to draft, and like they might not be ready right away, but like a lot of people were saying that like he is looking like one of the most mature players in this draft. And it was, and I thought it was really funny. Craig Button said that he kind of develops like a crush, kind of like a player that he really, really likes. And this year was Kobe Barlow. And I think it just speaks to how good of a player he is, but I think it just speaks to also how good of a person he is. He won the Scholastic Award, which is what Cole Perfetti won and Connor McDavid won. So I think that we have a really good person first, but we also have a really good player behind that person.
So you're saying we have Connor McDavid joining our team in the next couple of years? Yeah, no, like just everything. Like, I'm very much in the same boat as Craig Button, where you just fall in love with the player, and usually I'm kind of whatever. But this guy, he's won my heart over in just an instant. Just good Canadian kid, and he just wanted to play for a Canadian team. Didn't matter which team. He's happy to be here. So,
Yeah.
And it kind of gives me Rutger McGroarty vibes, where it's just
Yeah.
like just a good dude that you want to hang out with. So I'll take
Yeah.
it.
And a good thing too also is I'd say his floor is like really high as well. Like, if he like at like top peak, like he could be like that first line guy that's just kind of like, I don't want to say Timo Meyer because I'm not sure how physical he is, but kind of that player that can score goals in a lot of different ways and create offense in a lot of different ways while having leadership qualities. But if he doesn't reach that, like, he's pretty safely almost guaranteed to be like a third line guy that can score like 20 goals at least and maybe like 40 points. So like, his floor is a lot safer than say some of the other picks that led up to Barlow. So to be able to get that type of guy who can be like so safe, but to have so much upside as well is pretty good.
Were there any picks in the first round that like really, really shocked you?
I was kind of laughing at Arizona's picks. They didn't take Michkov. They went for Simashev and Boot. So, and not that they're not good players, but like, I feel like they had a draft where they had so much opportunity with 2 top 12 picks. And to like, they could have walked out of this draft with Matvei Michkov and Zach Benson. Like, that is something that doesn't come along often. And I think that not that they had a misstep, but I think that they're gonna have to prove a lot of people wrong on why they took these players.
It wasn't Mishkov saying like he will not play for the
Yeah,
Arizona Coyotes, so you can kind of respect that too, because you don't want to get a defenseman developed in the KHL and then all of a sudden, you get that 4-year mark or whenever his contract ends, and he's just like, well, I'm going to wherever it ends up being. Philly, it
yeah,
seems like now. So you said that the Jets drafted another goaltender, and we were talking about him a little bit
yeah,
earlier today, or at least you were talking about him. I was
yeah.
reading messages and stressing about work, but that's okay. So like it seems like the Jets are kind of shoring up their goaltending future for like the next 3 to 5 years in DeVicentes and a new
Milich,
goaltender.
I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thomas Milich.
Yeah. So, what are the Jets going to do between now and then? Because if we get one more year of Connor Hellebuck, still for a few more years where we got to wait for these guys to develop, unless
Yeah.
a miracle happens and they turn into a Carter Hart.
Yeah, one thing that I did read about Mark Hillier said this. He's like the head of scouting and like that kind of like drafting like department there. He said that like what he's been able to do, he is a 20-year-old right now, but that was his 19-20-year-old season. There's not a lot that he hasn't done. Like he won the WHL championship. He won gold, or he did really good with Canada. I'm not sure if they won gold. I'm pretty sure they did. But and like he won playoff MVP and he won goaltender of the year. Like all in one span, like that type of goalie, like if say he was drafted like 2 years ago and this guy came out of nowhere and did that, like that team, like that fan base would be going crazy. Like how crazy are we going about DeVincentis having this kind of breakout year and being that goaltender of the year in the OHL? And then this guy's like, yeah, I'm the WHL goalie of the year. I won playoff MVP. I won gold with Canada at the World Juniors, and I had like a 25-3-2 record. Like that just doesn't happen. And one thing that Mark Hillier said is he sees this type of goalie here that is like he's gonna turn pro like pretty quickly too. Like he said that he was like a sign and go pro. Like it might be like 1 year or two in the AHL, but like this goaltender might be the most NHL ready goaltender in this draft.
And we picked him up in what, the third round there?
Fifth round, yeah.
Fifth, we got. All right. Well, thank you everyone else in the
Yeah.
NHL for blowing that one. Uh, Also, congratulations to Declan Chisholm. He's been
Hmm.
engaged. Engaged to his bride to be now. So that's your breaking
Yeah.
news for this episode. Nothing real fancy. Uh, we're a little bit upset that the
Yeah.
Jets missed on Cristal.
Yeah.
So, Why would you have gone with Cristal over Barlow?
I wouldn't have picked Cristal over Barlow in that spot, but like I really wanted the Jets to find a way to like trade up or like trade away like Dylan for a second round pick or something like that to get this guy because he's just like one of those talents that like sure he might have concerns about his consistency defensively and just overall skating and stuff like that, but like he had 95 points and was like such a good player in the WHL. He's probably like sixth in scoring in the WHL. And that type of guy is like he's 5'10, like 160 or something like that. But he has so much upside. Like that's so like and with how this draft is with the forwards, like you could have that guy and Washington got him at 40th overall. And that guy could like that guy seriously has legit like first line upside if he figures it all out. And that getting that in the second round is just invaluable when some of the other picks like I would have picked Cristal before the two picks that Arizona picked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier today, Mike McIntyre letting us know that the Jets have shown some interest in Jeremy Swayman. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that news?
I think it's pretty good news because with Boston clearing cap space and Swayman being an RFA and Boston's center deficiencies that they are probably coming up upon with Bergeron and Krejci, like 1 foot out the door and not sure what's going to happen there. I think Scheifele is like basically what that like kind of trade would be. And I think Swayman is a great young goaltender just coming into his own. he's been under uh Allmark for the past 2 years, but I think he won the Jennings like this year for like the lowest goals against, like shared with Allmark. And I think he's just a really good goaltender that's just scratching the surface and hasn't had that chance to be a full NHL starter. But if he does, I feel like he could really take off, and you wouldn't have to pay him like what Hellebuck's wanting. Like you could be like a $5 million deal.
You really think you could get Swayman for $5 million?
He's I like his games played. I don't like. I'm not sure how much like room he has to kind of barter with his contract, like his AAV, but he's still kind of an unproven goaltender, and it might like he might be expensive, he might not, but he's still only like 24 years old, maybe 23. I'm not exactly sure, but he's still a very young goaltender. He was drafted in 2017. Like that's like only 6 years ago. So he's 23, maybe 24 right now. So you might have to pay him more just because of what he could become.
Interesting. I like that. So would that be like a tandem of Hellebuck and Swayman for just this year?
I think if you're bringing in Swayman, honestly, I think that means that they want to trade Hellebuck, or they're trying to trade him, just because I don't think it's realistic to have Hellebuck and Allmark in that situation, or Hellebuck and Swayman in that situation, just because we saw this last year with Allmark and Swayman. Like Swayman's gonna get paid this year. Like, are you gonna spend like over $10 million on your goaltending? Like, you sure you could? It's like you would love to keep Swayman and Allmark, but that might just be like a luxury thing that you can't really afford in the long term. So they're either going to have to make a decision on Allmark or Swayman. And with the rumors going around, it looks like Swayman might be a more attractive piece just because of his age and kind of where he can fit in a lot of teams' kind of future.
Did I say Swayman and Hellebuck, or did I say Ullmark and
You
Hellebuck?
said Swayman, you said Swayman and Hellebuck, but I like I just think that like we saw it like I don't think you can afford to pay Hellebuck and Swayman
But if you
this
gave them
year.
both, oh, okay, so you don't want $11 million potentially
Yeah,
tied up in those two.
yeah.
But I mean, that's $11 million in your goaltending, and you're guaranteed what, like
Yeah,
75 great starts next year with those
yeah,
two
you
in
would
net.
get yeah, you get some great starts, but like then you're basically saying like yeah, like what are you gonna do at the deadline then? You're just gonna keep Hellebuck and then probably lose him for nothing. Like the Jets are the last team that can afford to kind of lose their players for nothing. So
I
if they want to go,
honestly,
yeah,
if you pushed all the chips in and you're like, you know what, I believe in this team. I'm using the two best goaltenders that are at my disposal. I know it'd be impossible, like it'd be tough to make that cap work, but if for whatever reason you could move on from one of those bad defensive contracts, Nate Schmidt, uh, I'd be okay with it. I'd be really okay with it.
so
And
you'd
and
be
and I
willing to
would
pay.
I'd be willing to
Oh,
pay them both. I'd be willing to pay Swayman, keep Hellebuck around for one more year, go win for the cup. You have to win with great goaltending. Use those two.
yeah, but the problem is like you're gonna like you can only start one goaltender in the playoffs. So
No, you
like
can't. You can start whoever you want. Yeah.
you can start
Yeah.
multiple, but
Why
like
are we still why are we doing it this
okay,
archaic
so
thing where we're putting a goaltender in for, 40 straight nights and being like, "Oh, why is he tired at the end of it?" Oh, it's a shock. Have two goaltenders. This isn't 1987 anymore. Actually,
okay,
that's a
but
lie because the Oilers had two goaltenders. So, I
okay,
don't
okay,
know.
I'll ask you this then. If you're going into the playoffs and you with Hellebuck and Swayman, and Hellebuck starts game one, wins, are you switching the goaltender?
Here it is. Definitively, if Connor Hellebuck wins game one and it's like a good game for him, I play him game two. And if he keeps going, he keeps going. If there's a day where it's like, actually kind of fell off the boat, okay, Swayman, you're in. Like, I know that's not tradition, but like sometimes not tradition wins you a cup.
Okay. That's the I like I feel like that is like where you would ideally want to be. But with the NHL, I think that it's like Hellebuck is going to be too expensive to do that with. Like I think that's you do that with Swayman and someone that's comparable to Swayman. So like when you don't really see a difference between the goaltenders, So yeah, like if you had like Swayman and I don't know, like say like Milic or Dom DiVincentis are basically almost even at some point in their career, and they're both on the Jets. Let's say for this hypothetical, if then I would say then like, yeah, switch the goalies. But when one goalie Hellebuck is better than Swayman, I think it's like even though if Hellebuck loses, it's gonna be tough to say like yeah, Swayman is the goalie that you wanna because then if you lose, you're gonna look like an idiot for switching out Hellebuck, who is a Vesna perennial Vesna nominee.
Well, like if you lose on Hellebuck, like you're losing out on Hellebuck no matter what. And it'd be a shame if you drafted these two guys and then all of a sudden, you can't play either of them for bringing Swayman in for whatever contract he wants. I guess still RFA, but I mean, let's just say he somehow swindles himself into an 8-year deal.
Yeah.
Right? Like then you're losing out. All right. In the third round, the Jets would bring in a Winnipeg boy, Zach Nearing.
Yeah.
You were pretty excited about this guy. Tell us more about the 6'3" right shot winger.
Yeah. So Nearing is like he was seen as like kind of around this range, around mid third to like early fourth round. And he's one of these guys that like was in prep school, I'm pretty sure. He was at Shattuck St. Mary's Prep. And over the past 2 years, like he had two really good years in this program. He had 85 points this year and 87 points last year. And he's going to Western Michigan University in the NCAA. And I think that he almost reminds me of Adam Lowry in a way, but like not in the same way. Like I think that this guy has more offense to give, but might be slightly less physical and like penalty kill. So this type of guy, like I think of Josh Anderson on Montreal, like kind of that physical presence, kind of can get you some greasy goals, kind of grind the corners, but then like can score you some like key goals and kind of do that kind of thing. I'm not saying this guy's going to be a guarantee, but he has a lot of great things going for his game, and he knows where his flaws is. He said that he needs to kind of fill into his body a little bit more, and he really wants to get his skating a lot better than where it is right now. And I think that with him knowing where he needs to work on his game, I think that he could become a pretty good like middle six forward.
Right on. I always like middle six guys, especially Winnipeg boys who play the corners tough because
I don't think he's from Winnipeg though.
I thought he was.
No, that's the guy I wanted.
Oh, okay.
This guy played in Winnipeg though.
Oh,
He
at
played
St.
at some
Mary's.
point. He played for the Winnipeg Junior Jets in 2014, 2015.
Okay, so I did read that and then misunderstood it and connected your stuff and just like he's
Yeah,
Winnipeg.
I wanted Jaden Perron.
Ah,
He was a Winnipeg guy. I
interesting,
went
interesting.
after.
Okay, so I guess gotta read the full article instead of these headlines because yikes. Rucker McGroarty taking another year to play in the NCAA. How do you feel about that
Yeah.
one?
I think it's perfect. I think that he had a really good season this year, but I don't want like there's no reason to rush him. And he's mentioned that he said like he's gonna come to Winnipeg when he wants to be an impact player. Like he doesn't want to come to Winnipeg when he's kind of too early for it and not gonna be where he wants to be. The only thing that kind of makes me a little upset is he wasn't named the captain because I feel like that would have been really nice to see just as he was the captain in the US program before he's drafted. So it would have been nice to see that kind of recognition from Michigan. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a test on McGroarty because if Fantilli goes pro this year with Columbus, I think that he's going to be relied on a lot more than he was this year. And I think it's kind of one of these seasons where he could really like I feel like he could really show that he's really good as well. Not that we think that Rucker McGroarty isn't that good, but when you have Adam Fantilli on your team and you have a season like Rucker McGroarty did, like some people might correlate that, oh, he's got a good amount of points from playing on a great Michigan team. But I think that he needs to show that he's a really good player that makes Michigan a great team.
I like that. I like that so much. And I mean, like you like to see him succeed with a team long term. And if you can
Yeah.
start to develop chemistry with guys early on, especially in your early 20s, you can
Yeah.
translate that to the NHL, hopefully a little bit better. And I mean, go go educate yourself there, Rucker, and enjoy Michigan. Because I mean, that has to be one of the best crowds to play in front of in all of hockey. I know Winnipeg is arguably one of the best places to play in the NHL, but enjoy it. So
I guess we can talk about the other two prospects. We didn't mention them.
yeah, I guess we should.
In the fifth round at 146, the Jets picked Jacob Julian from the London Knights. This pick, it's kind of a reach, kind of hoping that this player becomes better. Like, this is the one pick where I'm kind of question where the thought process is at, because this guy played only 46 games and he's an overager, so this is like his draft plus 1 year. So they said he was a kind of a late bloomer, but he is 6'4", so this guy's a really big body center, and London tends to produce a lot of NHL talent, so he could be like a good, like, I think of like Logan Brown, if Logan Brown like developed into an NHL player, kind of that kind of big forward that can kind of do all good things. But I think that this pick right here is going to be seen as they could have done a lot better. But Jacob Julian, that's going to double JJ right there. I think that he has Dale Hunter as a coach there, so I feel like he's going to have great support at becoming the best player he's going to be.
Right on. And then in the 7th round, selected
Yeah.
210th overall, the guy who's going to lift the Stanley Cup for the Winnipeg Jets in 12 years, because I'm calling 2 Stanley Cups in the next 15. We got Connor Levi's from the Kamloops Blazers.
Yeah, I really love this pick. Like he was like almost point a game, like with 1 point up, like 67 points in 68 games. And he had 4 points in the Memorial Cup. And he is a 2004 birthday, but he's just like a good player. Like there's nothing that he's like bad at. Like there isn't anything that like he really needs to improve upon, but everything could kind of be better. So it's kind of like one of those like jack of all trades but master of none. Like he's just kind of a good winger, and yeah, he kind of like he's a good physical presence. Could be more physical. Has a good shot. Could be a little better.
Saku Manalainen light, essentially.
No, I'd say it's slightly better. Like I'd say like almost
okay.
like I'd say like he's like hopefully this is a Baron but on the right side, but like maybe a little bit worse. So maybe like Appleton. I think Appleton's a good kind of comparable to what he could be. And one thing that I really like about this guy is he was also the Scholastic Player of the Year last year. So I think that it really shows that like the players that the Jets are drafting are players that are really dedicated to not just hockey, but just kind of all aspects. So they're going to be players that are going to give you 110%. Like we see, like Colby Barlow was the Scholastic Player of the Year this year. So I think, and Perfetti was the one in 2020. So I think that picking players like this, where they have these accolades, but like they're accolades that reflect who they are as a person, more of who they are as a player, as much as player awards like best goalie for Dom and Milic are really good. I think that these players right here, like with Levis, or I think it's Levis, yeah. I think that he could be like a diamond in the rough, and you won't like. He's just a good player. That's all I have to say. He's a great player, and he's a Scholastic kid, so he's going to be dedicated.
Yeah, you like to see it. And so hopefully the Jets got a room full of incredibly talented and educated men joining them in the future here. Feels good to be a part of this organization, because I have started drinking the Kool-Aid. The next couple years might be a little rough, but that's okay. Because, my very early estimate, 7 years from now, the Jets win a cup. That's
Can
what
I
we're
also
thinking.
just mention how there was not a single trade until like the second round? Like there was not a single trade in that first round.
Yeah,
So
very unconventional night. I was waiting for at least one. And also the lack of booze for Gary Bettman, too. Like he had to earn those booze last night. So I think he's lost his touch. I think people are starting to realize Gary Bettman might not be as bad of a guy as we think. Ray, we're taking the weekend off. So you enjoy the Canada Day long weekend. We'll talk to you again on like
Tuesday, the 4th.
Tuesday the 4th. All right, we're talking Independence Day. Hopefully something happens between now and then. And if not, maybe we'll just
Yeah, we'll
take a
have
full week
free
off.
agency.
Free agency, that's what
So
we're talking.
so I guess to end this off, what's one free agent that you'd like to see the Jets pursue or re-sign?
I mean, Sam Gagne, can we bring him back? Like I just liked him as like a 13th forward because he could hop in and
Yeah,
play everywhere on it with this lineup. And
yeah,
it wasn't pretty when he was on the top line. Like the dude's well into his 30s now, but he was a good dude to have around, and I liked him. So, and he scored that
yeah.
the game winner in the first game of the season. So, how can you not like that about Sam Gagne?
Yeah, I'd have to say I'm still liking Jesper Fast, but like I wouldn't be lying if I would love to have like Ryan O'Reilly or one of these like top free agents, but it's kind of wishful thinking. So I would say Jesper Fast just with what he might be able to bring.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start talking contracts here, or
Yeah,
RFA contracts.
yeah, free agency starts, so I'm gonna be messaging all these signings. So hopefully we see some Jets stay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Hopefully, we're talking about a really good Morgan Barron deal.
yeah,
Whenever that can. What RFAs is that
they
starts
don't
a
have to
week?
sign.
They don't have
They
to
don't have
sign.
to.
No.
But yeah, we could be losing some Jets legends and Axel Jonsson Fjallby, Sam Gagne, David Riddick, but no kind of players that are that much of an impact. So
No,
it'd be nice to keep some of these players, but
you do what you gotta do, and yeah, like I said, we'll talk about this next week.
yeah.
Find me a goalie that you want as a backup, or heck, even as a starter this year or this next year. We'll talk about that next week on Tuesday. So tune into that. Make sure you like and subscribe. Do all that good jazz. Follow Ray on. Well, you tell him.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray.Howe on Instagram. And if you have any questions that you want covered, we can still cover a couple prospects because there's going to be the Jets development camp coming up in the next couple days. So if you want any insight on players playing in that or some free agent players as well, we can do that as well.
Yeah, shoot Ray some messages. He always does them up really well. I appreciate when he does them because they are very structured, and man, you do a great job. Make sure you check out jetsnation.ca. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know. If you see us, it's probably us. I don't think anyone's intimidating Jets Nation here just yet. But and give me a
We'll
follow,
get
Angus
there.
Hout, Twitter and Instagram. Ray, you have a great weekend. Everyone else,
Yeah.
peace out. Take it easy and go Jets go.
Go Jets go.